Hey everyone, so welcome to the Scope. This is LorettaLoveHuff, so I'm going to give people a few minutes to get here. If you would, in the chat box, tell me your name and where you're scoping in from. Would love to hear who's on the Scope with me here today. So as I said, I'm LorettaLoveHuff, the business coach, and today is about 5 ways to fuel your, to use fear to fuel your financial freedom. So here we are. So I welcome all the replay viewers who are watching this a little bit after the broadcast, but I came up with this idea and I wanted to share it with people because I was dealing with it myself this last couple of weeks ago, and then I was talking with a prospect who was suffering from it seriously. So I learned a few lessons and I wanted to share them with you because I think they might be helpful to you, and I would love to hear what your reactions are to any of this. So again, my name is LorettaLoveHuff. I'm a business coach and a leadership coach. I help entrepreneurs market their business more effectively so that they get bigger deals and more clients. And I work with executives to help them lead their teams better so that they have a life and their teams are being really productive. So the 5 ways to, so before I dive into that, I actually want to give you a little bit of background. So one of the things that I learned several years ago is that we can only think one thought at a time. Now, I know we have a lot of thoughts and they're flying by really, 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 really quickly, but they're actually only individual thoughts, one at a time. And the reason that I'm sharing that with you is because if we are focused on our fear or our worries or our doubts or our insecurities, then that's where all of our attention is going. And so the key really is to shift your attention, even when all the evidence around you makes it look like things aren't going very well. It's disastrous to stay focused on all the things that aren't going very well. And it's human nature to say, oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? What's wrong with the world? What's wrong with everything when things aren't going well? But I've been reading and listening to a lot of uplifting audios and reading a lot of books that really talk about the metaphysics of things and how our attitude really does determine how our life is going. And I had an experience of that, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. So one of the things, when I was talking to this prospect, I've been talking to her for about a week and a half now, and she's the kind of person, she's brilliant. She's done she had an incredible launch of something. I won't say what it is, but she had an incredible launch of a product that she offered that was really, really great. But what she really wants to do is coach with people, and she's afraid to take herself and make the kind of impact that she wants to make on the world on her own. So it's one thing to like create some product and sell it, and it's quite another thing to offer yourself, your heart, your mind, your soul, your concerns and worries and fears and joys, to be vulnerable with people. And if you're going to be a coach, you know that's part of what you do. So she's been, on the fence about hiring a coach for a while, and I can tell from the way that she's approaching things is that she's a very thoughtful, deliberate, slow to make decision kind of person, and I honor that and respect that. But on the other hand, and I've said this to her, her deliberateness and her concern and slowness to make decisions is the very thing that's keeping her from launching her business. So again, that was part of what prompted this scope on fear and what damage it's causing. One of the things that I have on my Skype account is a quote, and it says, to beware of our fears, but not beholden to them, to use them as stepping stones to your future and a brave new world. So we're going to have fears if we are moving forward, setting big goals. We're going to encounter situations where we're outside of our comfort zone. But the problem is a lot of us want to stay in our comfort zone because it's comfortable there. So it really does take stepping out of your fear, and it's only when you step out of the fear that the fear goes away. Sometimes maybe it'll dissipate, but it'll really dissipate if you conquer it and go after what it is that you want. So the key is to really focus your attention on the thing that you want, and rather than focusing on the obstacles and everything that's in between where you are right now and what it is that you're trying to do. So one of the things that I've been listening to is John Assaraf's. He was on The Secret, years ago when it came out, and I'm in one of his programs right now, and I've been listening to an audio that he has, which is, "Hi there, Rachel, welcome. Happy to have you here." So I was listening to John Assaraf, and I won't tell you his whole program because I paid for that program and he wouldn't want me sharing the whole thing. But there were 3 key things that he said that I did want to share. Thank you for the hearts. I actually appreciate those. So if you're liking what I'm saying, if you're resonating with it, just tap on your screen. You can give up to like 50 hearts in every scope. And so, I love that. It gives me good feedback and lets me know that I'm reaching you. So here are the 3 things that Assaraf said. We were talking about moving forward toward your goals. He said you need optimism, and that's what I was talking about. You need optimism. You need to be able to get away from the horrible internal feelings that you have when things aren't going your way. So let me tell you a story about that. A couple of weeks ago, things were not going my way. There were a couple of deals I thought I was going to get that fell through unexpectedly, and I can't even remember all of them, but I remember feeling like I was in a funk and heading downhill. And I didn't want to go there, but that's the direction I was going. Things just were not going my way more and more and more. But realizing that if I kept focusing on all the things that weren't going my way, they were going to continue to not go my way. I thought, I need to shift my mind. I need to, and if nothing else happens other than I feel better, that's going to be really important. So I started focusing on what I wanted my life to be, the things that I did want to have happen, not all the things that weren't happening, but the things I did want to have happen. I started looking at, what made me happy. I started thinking about what made me happy. I then actually went out for a walk, because one of the things that makes me happy is being out in nature. And I live, fortunately, at the edge of town, and so it's pretty easy to step outside, the development where I live, and be on a raw path with, bunny rabbits sometimes, and birds, and some dogs, and occasionally a coyote and snakes. But it's not dangerous, but it does get me close to nature. I love feeling the ground beneath my feet. So I did that. I went on my walk. I walked for about a half an hour up the hill and came back down. And I did feel relieved and more centered and calm. And without thinking about it, I felt better. And in a couple of days, and maybe this would have happened, maybe it wouldn't have, but in a few days, things started happening. So I got invited to submit a proposal for something that could turn out to be really good. And I haven't gotten it yet, but the person who invited me to participate was very eager to get me to submit this proposal. I did land a new client, so it actually wasn't a new client. It was a client I'd worked with years ago who called me back and said, I need some more help again. I got hired for a gig we've been working on for 8 months. 8 months. And, the contract finally came through. So, again, these things might have happened on their own, but in the interim, because I was focused on what I wanted to have happen rather than all the things that hadn't happened, I felt better and things did occur. So, 5 ways. I said I was going to use 5 ways to fuel your financial future. So the first way is to do the scariest thing that's on your list the first thing in the morning. So why that? Because if you're afraid, that's the last thing you want to do. You want to put those things off and keep yourself busy with other items. But here's the key. When you do the thing that is the scariest thing on your list and you get it done, you feel empowered. You feel energized. You're not burdened with, oh my God, I don't want to do that. And oh my God, it's going to hurt, or the conversation's not going to go well, or I'm afraid of what to say. So pick the thing that you're afraid of and do that first. Get it out of the way. So when you get it out of the way, then you're freed up and you feel more confident and you're able to move forward and you're able to tackle a lot of other things versus keeping yourself busy with the things that are easy but aren't really productive and aren't going to get you where you want to be. So the second thing is to ask yourself for inner guidance. A lot of the times we have our brains make decisions for us, and our brains are really good and really useful and very analytical, but part of our brain is designed to keep us safe in our comfort zone, not stepping outside the cave where the dinosaurs could get us. And yes, it is kind of that old of a mechanism. And so you have to not listen so much to your brain. You want to use it to think because it's good and useful for that. But in terms of making decisions, it's a lot more empowering to, in addition to using your brain, to check in with your heart and to see what your heart is telling you about what's important and what you really want and how things might go and the upside of the issues that you're considering. Because your heart is where your intuition lies. It's not in your brain. It's in your heart. And so when you can put your energy and focus there, you'll get access to ideas and thoughts and feelings and suggestions that you won't get if you're focusing totally on the logical part of things. So the third thing is believe that if you're about to do what feels like stepping off a cliff, that you know that you're either going to fly or you're going to land on solid ground. So the woman that I've been talking to is very afraid. I can tell she's just a very cautious person. And I know that the thing that's going to get her over it is not necessarily feeling her way out of her fear, because it seems to really grip her. The thing that will get you out of your fear is by taking action. It's by moving through the fear, knocking it down, telling that you're not the boss of me. I'm the boss of me, and I know you're trying to protect me. Thank you very much for that, but right now I'm moving forward, and that's kind of the way that you need to deal with it. And that's what Ashraf was talking about. So his 3 things were optimism, having a step-by-step plan, and focused, persistent action. So the optimism was, when I went on my walk and I started listening to the birds and the rustling leaves and feeling the sun on me, and shifting my thought from all the things that had gone wrong to all the good things that I'm expecting to happen. It uplifted me and things started happening. Then having a step-by-step plan. So we also do need to then take action. So I've been on the phone calling people, creating emails about some things that I'm working on here. So there is, some benefit to you taking action as well. And then, so having a plan, knowing what you've got to do. And then the third thing is taking focused action. And taking action that's going to be productive, which is often going to be things that you're not comfortable with and that make you kind of scared. But that's where the juice is. That's where great things happen. So, do the scariest thing on your list. That's tip number one. Tip number two, I did that one. So, tip number two, as a review, is ask your inner guidance for, ask it actually specifically, what is this fear trying to protect me from? And when you ask your intuition, what is it that my brain's trying to protect me from, you'll find out. And then the key is, see if there's some other way other than procrastinating on the decision or the action. See if there's some other way that you can meet that need that your brain is trying to create. So, for example, I've written a book called 6 Keys for Dissolving Disputes, and it's all about conflict resolution. And one of the keys is to start where you're stuck. So when we're fearful, we tend to get stuck. And when we're stuck, we don't take action, and therefore we're not creating. We're probably, feeling badly about ourselves and, having a pity party or a blame party. But when you're able to move forward and feel optimistic about things and take action, you'll do things. So have your intuition tell you, here's another way that you can protect yourself, but still allow yourself to move forward. So in the book, 6 Keys for Dissolving Disputes, start where you're stuck. So imagine that you want to have a conversation with someone, and you're afraid to have the conversation because it's a difficult conversation. It's something that you're a little uncomfortable about sharing, and you're a little worried that they're not going to take it very well. So the key is to articulate the thing that has you unable to have the conversation. That's actually where you start the conversation. So you might say, friend, I have this really difficult thing that I want to talk about, and I'm a little afraid to even bring it up because I'm afraid that you're going to get angry, be hurt, be embarrassed, whatever it is you're afraid of. So you want to articulate the very thing that you're afraid of. So that does a couple things. First, articulating it takes it out of the swirl that's in your head, and once you've said it, now it's not quite so scary anymore, and you're able to move forward. So you're able to get it out, and it also kind of puts them on notice so that they aren't, so that they know that you're not trying to hurt them, make them afraid, embarrass them, or whatever it is that you think they were going to react to. So it empowers you, and it disempowers the reaction that you were afraid of that was keeping you from being able to make that action to begin with. So start where you're stuck. So when you're afraid, start there. Look at your fears, but don't be beholden to them. Use them as pathways to get to where you want. So the third one, I talked about, so the third one is believe that if you're about to step off the cliff, that you'll either learn how to fly or that you'll land on solid ground. Because again, it's the confronting the fear that allows you to make the progress. And if you allow your fear to dictate what it is that you're trying to accomplish, then you won't get anywhere. And the fear is probably not going to go away on its own, unless you just kind of continue to ignore. But if you think about it the whole time, it's not going to go away. It's going to stay there. And the thing that will get it to go away is when you confront it and say, you are not the boss of me, and you move on and do the thing that you wanted to do. Keep moving toward the goal that you're committed to, and the fear will then dissipate. So number 4 is design strategies that will minimize the potential for the thing that you're afraid is going to happen. So again, like listening to your intuition and coming up with things to deal with it. So if you're afraid that this thing's not going to go wrong, well, let's imagine that it does go wrong. What could I do to prevent the thing from going wrong? Or what could I do to recover from that thing going wrong? So again, if you've got, given what John Assaraf said, you have a step-by-step plan, you've got some contingencies identified, then you'll be able to move forward more confidently and deal with whatever does come up because you've taken action. Because it's the action and the conversations that create the forward progress towards your goal. If you sit there waiting for things to happen, maybe they will, but they're way more likely to happen if you keep your energy in the right place and you keep moving forward, doing the right things so that it can happen. And then the 5th thing is ask for help and ask for what you want. So be specific. Here's what I would like. I would like this. I would like, our relationship to be this way. I would like my job to be this way. I would like you to be this way. Now, when you're asking other people to do things, sometimes they'll do it, sometimes they won't. But you have more of a chance getting what you want from someone else if you tell them, here's what I'd like, than if you never say anything and you expect them to figure it out. So that's the thing about, relationships. We sometimes expect people to know what's going to make us happy, and they don't, because they're concerned about themselves. Maybe they might be concerned about you, but they don't know what's going to make you happy unless you share that with them. So it's always a good idea to ask for what you want. So those are 5 tips. So I hope that you found those helpful. So do the scariest thing first thing in the morning. Here's our review. Scariest thing first thing in the morning will free you up and give you a lot of energy. The second thing is ask your inner guidance. In addition to your brain, ask your inner guidance and your intuition how you can deal with the thing that your brain's trying to protect you from. So, bring in some other inspiration than just what your brain, who's trying to protect you, is coming up with, to figure out some ways around the situation. The third thing is believe that if you are about to step off a cliff, that you'll either learn to fly, which will feel really good, or you'll land on solid ground, which will feel good as well. And the fourth one is have strategies or tactics that minimize the potential of the thing that you're afraid of. So come up with, alternatives, do some contingency planning, have alternatives and things that you can do to come back from anything that might not go well, because everything doesn't always go well. We know that. And then the fifth thing is ask for help. Ask for what you want. So I hope you found that helpful. Would love to hear from you. If you're not following me on Twitter, follow me there. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. LorettaLoveHuff, the Dream Leader for Business, the creator of Courageous Growth, Courageous Leadership, Outrageous Growth. Thanks so much for your time. Talk to you soon.